And our next speaker is Adrian Hetman, tech lead of triaging at Immunefi. And he'll be talking to us today about stories from other side of the table, how Immunefi is fighting for you behind the scenes.
Hello, can you hear me well? Okay.
Get closer, maybe?
Closer, okay.
Yeah.
So, hello. I'm gonna tell you some stories that shows what it takes to actually handle critical vulnerabilities at Immunefi, or basically whenever. Stories that shows the importance of proper handling of responsible disclosures. I'm gonna share stories that actually haven't been made public until today. Of course, I wouldn't be disclosing any confidential information because I don't want to dox any security researchers nor the projects, but I will shed you some light on how Immunefi and triaging team works behind the scenes. What we do to actually make the project secure and white hats rewarded. So welcome everyone to the stories from the other side of the table on how Immunefi fights for you. Next slide. Okay. It's winter evening, 9 p.m. I'm sitting in an almost empty parking lot. In my car, groceries in the back. I'm about to head home to my lovely wife and to newborn child. I start the engine, and suddenly I get a notification. I look at it, and it's from work. I never got notified that late. I open the notification, and suddenly, within 2 minutes, I'm finding myself in a war room situation, because White Hat has found a critical vulnerability that can shut down any EVM RPC node. Number of affected projects on Immunefi, 15. And yes, that was actually just a Monday for me. So, how do you form a war room in a matter of seconds after you still experience some shell shock after receiving the news? You take that deep breath, and you remember that you've done this before. We've been at Immunefi in this situation many times before. We've dealt with such cases multiple times, dozens of times. I don't know even the hundreds, but possibly that could be true. We've been in that spot before. So we stayed with the hacker, communicating with him over secure channels, and we started planning the responsible disclosure. Because yes, he has found the vulnerability, but we needed to be sure that the impact is actually there, that the report is rock solid, that it wouldn't be dismissed, that it would apply to all the bug bounty program rules for all these different affected projects. And it took time. And actually, we wanted to, apart of course, keeping hackers' best interests at heart, the bounty rewards themselves, we also wanted to have projects be secure. So after mass disclosure, the chase had begun. We started contacting every project that was affected to look at the report immediately. Some of them responded to us within minutes, some of them within hours, some of them within days. Some of them patched the issue, resolved the bug report, and rewarded the hacker, because the report was well written because we prepared it so well before. But some of them actually, as it turned out, didn't have this impact in their bug bounty program. And some of them claimed that they were protected against this. So, through mediation, Immunefi could officially step in and mediate this case. We look at all technical details across all 15 cases. And we managed to showcase a real impact on the out-of-scope bug to some of the project and get the hacker rewarded. It took us 5 months of effort, 5 months of constant back and forth between the project and the White Hat, analyzing every little detail of every bug report that they submitted. Yes, the bug was actually common on the same on every project, and the 95% of the bug report was exactly the same. But that 5% was so crucial to actually being able to resolve this issue. And it took us 5 months of us battling for you, battling for the project to actually get their project secure, their user secured, and White Hat get appropriately compensated for this. And it's important to know that whenever there was a slight dispute, a slight disagreement, we always encourage White Hat to actually call us in. Because in some of these cases, if we wouldn't be called in, the case wouldn't be resolved. And by resolved, meaning that the project would still be open to vulnerability, and White Hat wouldn't get rewarded. Because sometimes information can get lost, misunderstood. And we are here to actually step in and provide all unbiased technical information, to provide a just and fair platform to everyone to actually talk to each other and to report such vulnerabilities through Immunefi. And you may sometimes be thinking, okay, this took 5 months, but does it always take that long? No, not necessary. So, some of the issues are more straightforward, some of them are more complicated, but we always do our best. We'll do every length to actually resolve the issue. But actually, who am I really to talk about this? It may be a strange time to introduce myself, but my name is Adrian Hetman. I'm the head of triage at Immunefi. I've been in Web3 security space since 2020. I've been in crypto since 2016. I personally triaged and mediated some of the most paid bugs on Immunefi. And I'm honored to stand in front of you and tell you some interesting war room stories from my work. Our platform is built on the idea that the project and White Hats can collaborate to mutually benefit one another. By utilizing their backhanding expertise, White Hats can help projects secure millions of dollars worth of assets. And in return, projects share a bit of that wealth with the White Hats to thank them for their time and effort. And however, as much as we try to build objective metrics into bug bounty programs on our platform, sometimes gray areas are still there. Sometimes edge cases happen. And in such cases, it's always important to call us in for a mediation. Because every crisis situation that we ever handled, and that also I'm going to present right now, was eventually resolved through a mediation process, because then we could officially step in and fight for you. So let's now look at some of examples of different mediations that were eventually a war room situations or a worthy of name of a crisis. This is the case where White Hat was right. This is the story that a few of you already may know. Pwning.if, an elite White Hat, has found a critical vulnerability in Moonbeam twice within the span of 2 months. He got paid for those 2 bugs over $2 million in bug rewards. The first bug resulted in $100 million of potential value at risk, second bug in $200 million of value at risk. Amazing bug report, amazing effort of both sides, but you might not know all the behind-the-scenes details. Because, actually, those 2 bugs were out of scope initially, per bug bounty program rules that Moonbeam has set. So it was crucial, as with every case, to call for a mediation. Because yes, Moonbeam wanted to reward the hacker. They understood the severity of the vulnerability, the severity of the impact, but they weren't sure how to actually reward the hacker based on their bug bounty rules. So they called us in. And also we stayed on a line with the Pwning.if. And whenever there is such case that bug bounty programs rules aren't clear, as I said before, call for a mediation. And we're always encouraging and pushing for fair compensation as determined by value created for the project. And in this case, the value created was obvious. In total, $300 million saved, right? But it wasn't that clear how to actually progress with that. So through many weeks of effort of navigating through the rules and understanding the technical details of the bug report itself, we managed to showcase the real impact for Moonbeam in both of these cases, and through collaborative efforts of Moonbeam and pwning.if acting in a good faith, just wanting to get this bug resolved, fixed, and later, of course, pwning.if getting rewarded and appropriately compensated. After Immunefi helped, we managed to resolve this, because as with every case, I'm going to repeat this constantly, some of these cases wouldn't be either as successful or successful at all if we wouldn't be called in, because we handled thousands, hundreds, thousands of cases, difficult cases, and we are experts in that. We know how to navigate bug bounty program rules. We know how to navigate impact. We know how to navigate all the technical information because we've done this before. And through collaborative effort, as I said, Bug Hunter was eventually rewarded, and by result, we also updated lots of our bug bounty program rules, created some updates, because with every edge case scenario, every crisis situation, we are always constantly improving, because we don't want such case ever to happen again. And if that case happens, then we can just do business as usual, because we already know how to handle such cases. That's why we're making constantly smaller updates. And each smaller update is based on one of the difficult cases that we have. Next case. Project was right. Because from the previous story, you may think to yourself, why on earth project didn't pay maximum payout immediately? Because it isn't actually always clear if the impact is actually real. In this case, White Hat has submitted a beautiful report. All technical details were already in there. POC was working. It was runnable. He even included funds at risk calculation, $10 million. Everything was in a report. From triaging perspective, it was a piece of cake to triage. But it wasn't a piece of cake for the project. Project disagreed with this report, disagreed with the White Hat. And after having disputes on our platform between the White Hat and the project, we were officially called in. We analyzed every bit of technical information that was shared in the bug report itself, in a POC, and also within the conversation, because new information came to the light. And we eventually got in a call with the project, because we had one piece of a puzzle that was still missing before we could give our judgment and our recommendation. And after that call, it became clear that the liquidation mechanism, because bug was around that, was working as intended. And project was actually right. And project closed the report, but the issue lied with the POC itself, because you see, White Hat made some assumptions about how POC should work, how the liquidation mechanism of the project should work. And that assumptions were wrong. Those assumptions weren't tested. And we always encourage everyone to actually test every assumption, because we are dealing with facts. And every fact that we have help us get to the resolution of the bug report. And in this case, we managed to look at only the facts to state that the project was actually right. We provided with all technical reasonings and information to the White Hat. Project did the same. White Hat understood what he did wrong, so the case was closed. And White Hat left happy, knowing how to do better bug bounties in the future. Next case, middle ground. Because some of these cases may be quite obvious, sometimes from the beginning, sometimes after a while. But some of cases aren't as black and white. And it can take months of constant discussion, technical analysis, twice, or even 3 times, analyzing the same thing over and over again to actually understand what's going on. And one of such cases we handled this year, a few months back. 2 elite White Hats submitted a critical vulnerability to a VIP project. The attack vector was very complex. It was weaponizing randomness. And after the disclosure, both White Hats and the project were working flawlessly together to develop a fix to protect the project. And from our standpoint, the collaboration was beautiful. until it wasn't. Because you see, the dispute happened when it came to deciding on the final payout and the severity of the bug. The project thought that this was a medium severity impact, not a critical one, and the project, of course, disagree. And with severity, also the payout recommendations were way smaller than the White Hat actually wanted. And White Hat did point-by-point counter arguments. Project responded with the same, and such arguments arose tension between the two to a higher degree. When finally, when project still didn't want to budge about their reasonings, White Hat acted in a bad faith. They threatened the project to go to make this case public to get a higher reward. We at Immunefi don't take blackmail easily. We treat it really seriously because we want to provide a fair and just platform to everyone to actually be able to act together to get the project secure and White Hat in the end compensated. And blackmail doesn't help with that. We either straight ban hackers or heavily warn them. Of course, everything is based on case-by-case basis. In this case, I cannot tell you all the technical details, which I wish I could, but the end result was this. The impact stayed at critical. The project didn't pay the max critical payout that White Hat wanted, and they paid much less based on the actual funds at risk after our technical assessment, removing all the assumptions from the POCs and the impact. And middle ground isn't always in the middle. White Hats were left unhappy. Yes, they found a critical vulnerability, but the payout was much less than they expected. But they still got a few $100,000 in reward. And the project was also a bit unhappy because they needed to pay way more than they initially thought. But it's always important to emphasize in such cases why we reach such a decision that regards the payment. The decision, all technical details, to lay them out to every party so we can base our mediation on truth. And of course, we have many more cases I could talk about grey hat activity. And as with previous case, this case could go really nasty if we wouldn't be called in. We help to diffuse the tension, and that's what we do in such cases. We diffuse the tension, we go straight in, analyze everything, we clean everything, and provide with clean technical information to everyone, just looking at the facts, to be fair and just to anyone. Because we have rules for a reason, and we execute our rights to ban security researchers or the projects if they go against them. We want to create a fair platform for all parties involved, and we won't accept any bad faith behavior. And each mediation like the ones that I presented, even if we cannot make it public, always results in some improvements on our platform, in some articles that we write for the public to better educate the White Hats or the projects. And we will always fight for you, no matter what. But we need all necessary information to do that. We cannot make a judgment call based on a hunch. We need to analyze every possible scenario, every possible edge case. And for that, we need all technical information. And as I said, we will go every length possible as long as needed to prove your point, if, of course, it's a valid one. Making predictable outcomes out of BPPs we host is something that we work on every day. And for the future of mediation, we're codifying our best practices, learn across thousands of difficult cases. And we will form that into a new BPP that will form the basis of our work for a few years to come. And with that are coming investment in other areas around the BPP. We are making tons of improvements, tons of new articles, explanations to make everything more predictable when bug hunting for the White Hats and for the projects. And with that, I want to thank you for the talk. It was a pleasure. Sadly, I had a funny video at the end, but it doesn't seem like it will work. But thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Adrian. Get up, Adrian. Thank you. We may have time for one quick question. All right. You're very quick.
How do you educate your team on communication skills, peaceful resolution, and like negotiation?
As with everything, we are trying to be always respectful to anyone, no matter who are we talking to, even if to someone who's on basically a gray hat and is threatening a project. We're always respectful, and we always basing our communication on the facts. We just want to have everyone to have a nice time on our platform, and I said that, just and fair outcome, and for that, communication is a key, and we're learning that on every case also because we constantly improving on the ways that we communicate. We starting to add way more information into our remediations analysis that we post to both sides, and we still continue communicating with the White House or the project after remediation has been posted. And with everything, this is just a constant process. We don't have any one way that we can say that we do this and that. We're just trying to be respectful.
Awesome. Thank you. Adrian will be around, I'm sure, over the next few minutes.